Hello, everyone. This is Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today is a new series, shorter series than the previous one. That one was 33 parts. This one's going to only be 3. I know all the topics, assuming that I don't have any additional parts that I add in, which I could turn on discovering something else to talk about. But anyways, yeah, it should be 3 parts talking about maximizing NHL draft pick value. So again, another GM perspective thing, because that's kind of my greatest interest is the management side of hockey. Of course, I talk about other things, but that's what I'm most interested in. And so yeah, in particular today, we are going to figure out the success rate of drafted players, and in particular, the average performance for each round of draft pick, and also the maximum. So we want to get an idea of the normal performance of a second round, third round, fourth round, so on draft pick, and then the maximum performance. And then that way we can figure out what the value of the players are. And in turn, it'll help us make sense of their value when you're going to trade. So, for example, if a player is on average going to make the NHL, produce at 15 goals, 30 assists, 45 points in a season, then you know that they're probably equivalent to X level of player, which means that when you do a trade, you have to put that draft pick as if they are that player, kind of thing. So anyways, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. I don't have well, as always, everything's done on the spot, so I don't actually have a source I had planned to use, and I'm going to have to find it. Now, I had one in mind because I've used the source previously for this kind of information, but I don't know if it's going to provide me all the information I need, or if there's a better source. I don't know. So the first step here is to find the source. So yeah, so we will start with that. And what I'll do is make it so you guys can see me searching for it. I don't know how long this is going to take. It should be relatively quick, but it's hard to say. So we will see. So here's the share screen. Now, I know HockeyDB has historic draft picks. This might actually work. Now the question is, does it copy and paste well? Because actually this looks essentially perfect. So let's have a look. Ooh, it might be. No way. That's awesome. Okay, so then I'm just going to have a quick look to make sure that there's no alternative sources that have things better organized. The other thing is I know that people have answered this question before, but I don't trust that they've done things sufficiently. And the reason I say that is because I don't know which years they looked at. I don't know how exactly they structured their data. I know that I'll trust how I do it. I don't know if I trust how, or if I will trust how they will have done it. And also because I wouldn't be able to, in all likelihood, see their work. Whereas here, you can watch me do the work. So that's the benefit. I mean, the cost is that it takes time, and at moments it's not so entertaining to watch me just play around with data. But the benefit is that you see how I put together the data. You can actually see the results. You don't just see the end numbers. You actually see the results of, what the totals look like and all that stuff. So I think it's a benefit, but maybe I'm biased and I love myself too much. Okay, so let's see if any other sources. Well, I don't really need to see if this one pastes well, because I know the other one does already. So run advanced searches with our draft finder. Let's see. Oh, you have to subscribe. No, thank you. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's gonna work. So that's a no. Overall draft picks. No, it just has the pick. And another thing that I just thought about is I could also run a correlation to see if draft pick number is correlated to success. I thought it was the same site, my bad. Is this only NHL? Yeah, it is only NHL total, so that's good. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything more or better. Puckpedia might have something. No. Okay, so we're gonna have to do it manually. It's gonna be semi-tedious, but not crazy. What I'm gonna do is take a look at, and this is why we bookmarked this. Past lockout was 12-13. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So yeah, that'll be exactly 10 years, 10 seasons. Okay, so then what we'll do is the past 10 seasons. How do I do this? I'll do it different tabs and then one complete tab. That's what we'll do. So just a couple moments here to get things set. We want that. Cool, and then now I can share again. Sucks that I because another thing I was just thinking about is years until they start playing in the NHL. Yeah, to be honest, I just don't think it's worth the extra time and effort. So, we will ignore that thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I need this. We want that. Okay, so that's good. I mean, I don't really need to rename these, but whatever. Okay, and then we need round 7. Okay. And then I guess it's easiest if I just do all at once. Cool. Oh, it's good they have draft number. That also helps. I mean, I guess I could have done it manually, but why is that short? Was there a team missing? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Was someone penalized for their pick? Must have been something like that. Whoops. Okay, and then we did 3, we're on 4. Oh, this is last season. Does it have... Maybe this won't be sufficient. What did I just do? That's why it wasn't lining up. Doo, doo, doo. Maybe I should pause before I go too far and then have to use a different resource. Oh, NHL totals. Okay, good. Oh. And then last season is... the most recent season they played. Okay, that makes sense. Phew. Okay, well that's... that would have made this more annoying, but I mean, it's like I said, it's still a bit tedious. It's going to be what, 10 times 7, 70 different data sets that I need to copy and paste, but I mean, it could be worse. And here I thought this was going to be a super quick stream. Why is this longer? What the hell's going on? Maybe they lost multiple picks? Anyways, I don't know. It's confusing. Don't ask questions. Just copy and paste. I know in this case they're all zeros, but I mean, for the sake of consistency, I'm just going to do everything exactly the same. Alright, so that's 1 of 7. Now I hope this does still work if you eliminate the first row. And the columns line up. Games played, goals, assists, points, penalty minutes last season. Okay. Super. This is 2020. Move that down. Cool. All right. Oh, shoot, I did do it. Oopsie-daisies. What's going on? I don't know. Don't know. Don't ask. Man, no 4th round picks are playing. I'm excited for the results of this thing because I think it's going to be interesting. This is just the slow part, the oh so much fun data gathering. Okay, so that is 2 seasons done. Now we want 2019. I think that's right. Should have waited, but stupid thing. Okay, number 2. Number 3. Now, already one thing looks like it's the case is after a certain point, and I can't tell quite yet, but it looks like after a certain round, it's basically just hit or miss who's going to play in the NHL. I think it's around 5th round pick, where 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, they're all the same. That's just from what I've seen so far. I don't know if it's going to actually be the case, but we'll see. But so far, just from looking at the numbers, or well, whatever numbers show up, I guess. And for example, 7th round might be the same as 3rd round in terms of number of players that play in the NHL, but their performance might be different. That's another story. So that's done. Now we want this. Cool. 1st and 2nd round look like they play a lot, which, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you don't actually know until you see it. 3rd round, pretty consistent. I think 4th round is where it starts to get spotty. Yeah, it's basically the same 4th round, 5th round. And so far it's looked like that's the case. So that's interesting to note. And like I said, I mean, that doesn't tell us anything quite yet, because we want to know. Yeah, I mean, like you could have the same rate of making the NHL and having any games, but what matters is performance per games that you actually play. So I still have a feeling, though, that whatever it was, 4th or 5th round, it's going to be the same probably across all of them. We want 2017. See, this this is the least fun part of all this. I mean, it's cool to have all these questions and eventually the answers, but it's not so cool to have to actually do the work. I tell ya. I mean, I enjoy this subject matter, so it's not so bad. And in theory, eventually, as I do this stuff, I'll be able to chat with people that tune in and whatever, so it's not going to always be so tedious. But especially now, being a young channel, not much, if any, chatting. It's just work. So it's not so fun. It'll be cool at the end when we have the answers, but the process is not fun. Yeah, man, like a 6th round pick just comes out of nowhere and their stats aren't so bad. Or number of people. Oh, shoot. Go back. In terms of frequency of 6th round picks, they keep showing up. Okay, 2017's done. 2016. Cool, it's done. One thing I find interesting, or I found interesting, I guess, the number of trades that have already taken place so early before the deadline. Most of the major names are off the board already, or at least the guys that were expected to be moved. And I'm planning to do the trade deadline day live. And it's one thing, it's funny because every year I watch TSN and they keep commenting on the fact that all the trades happen early and then they have way less to talk about, and then they're just entertaining as opposed to actually talking about anything of significance. So thankfully I have a list of things I'm going to talk about, and it's all stuff that I had planned to do in different formats and then didn't, and so in the end I'll be able to actually do something I wanted to do. So it's not going to be a complete waste of time. It's just that I might not be able to talk about too many breaking trades, that is, because there just won't be any. But we shall see. You never know, because especially now, everything's so competitive. Teams might do more than historic numbers eventually. Why is that short? But yeah, anyways, I I wouldn't be shocked if there's more trades that come than expected, but equally, I mean, I feel like probably most of the trades are going to be done before the deadline day, but we'll see. There's obviously going to be some that happen, but I think it'll all be like depth players and all that. So, but again, we'll see. Oops. Cool, so 2015 is done. See, I don't know why they keep being short by one. What's going on here? Seven, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't know. Anyways. Now the one thing I hope is that I haven't screwed anything up, because I'm trying to do this quickly and I talk at the same time, and sometimes that produces mistakes. Oh yeah, that's because I was thinking I might have done something stupid, and there is a way to verify, so that's good news. Good, good, good. Okay. Good. So I've got 2 seasons left, and we can run the numbers. It should be relatively quick, but the one caveat to that is I don't know how many different things I'm going to want to calculate. So, I mean, mind you, it should all still be really quick because it's just formulas, but yeah, we'll see. Cool. Last season. There must be some sort of penalties on some of these teams, and I don't know what happened, because they're not lining up exactly every year. Okay, number 2. Cool, no mistakes. So now I can combine. I don't even know if I wanted to combine. But anyways, I did maybe overall averages. I don't know. Anyways, we'll figure it out. Okay, so how do I want to do this? We want first a sum of these. So we don't need that one because that's penalty minutes, I believe. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing I should do for all these. Wrong thing. Why didn't it work? Okay. So we've got, oh, whoops. That's better. And then we want does it have 307? This is where I wish I had a proper Excel. How do you do count? Give me 1 sec. Yeah, but it doesn't tell me. Okay. Why is this not working? Does that work? Sorry, bear with me here. I gotta figure out how to do this. Okay, I think that's it. That. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 44, 46 should have been the answer. Perfect. Okay, so that does work. See, this is the thing about not using Excel and using some other software, is that functions don't work exactly the same. So you got to find how to make it actually work. So we've got 46. We want 306. And equals that divided by that. Equals that divided by that. And we want, actually, that divided by that. Divided by 10 seasons. By 10. Okay, because we want so divided by players that did play, divided by all players drafted. And then we want maximum. So we want the average all that played. And then maximum, I think, is all we need. So we want wait. We want that. How do I do that? Or should I just order them? It's probably easiest. So we want games played descending. Or is that how we should do it? No, let's just do it by goals and points. Goals. And points. I think that's good. Cool. And it looks like I'm gonna have to do that for each of these, which sucks, but let's copy that formula so I don't have to think as much. Cool. And then we want 306. 306. 306. 307. Wait, what did I do? 306. 306. 309. 305. And then we want totals. H2. H2. Okay, that's done. And then six, that should work. So that one I won't do. And that one I won't do. Okay. That's good now. That should be the same. Same. Okay, then we want equals descending. And then points descending. Good. Goals descending. Points. Goals descending. Points descending. Goals descending. Okay, so rounds 3 to 7 are done. I gotta do rounds 2 and 1. So here we want equals that divided by that. Divided by 10, that, equals that divided by that, divided by 10. That divided by that divided by 10. Cool. Sort by goals descending. Sort by points descending. Descending. Oops. Oh, nearly done, nearly done, nearly done. Sort by points descending. So I should be done. For the most part. So I'm just verifying that I didn't screw up on my formulas here. So looks good, I think. And then I want to do this for everything as well. So just one more bunch of calculations. So that goes here. Whoops. That's H2145. equals that divided by that divided by 10. Equals that divided by that divided by 10. Cool. So if it isn't already obvious, all I'm doing is getting all the data on one sheet for comparison purposes, and then I'm done. Oh. I should also get this. Cool. So I think everything is done. Now I don't know if I want to do anything else with the data. I'll start talking about it, and then if anything comes to mind, then I might do something else. Oh, I should change all these to the same format. I want 1 decimal point, and then equals that divided by that. Okay, so can I make this any bigger? I think that's as good as I can do to be able to show all the data more or less at once. That's close. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so these are the results. And so I'll explain what they are here. So on average, we'll start with the overall average. So on average, players drafted in the past 10 years played 16 games, had 2.6 goals, 4.3 assists, and 7 points. Penalty minutes, we don't really care that much about. And then on average, 38.57 players actually played in at least one game in the NHL. And then that's for overall. And then so now that you know the kind of structure to consider here. Oh, and I forget if I said this. So, no, I don't think I did. So that's of the players that played one game. If you divide it by all players that were drafted, then this is the production. So same structure for here. All players that played at least one game, that's the average. All players that were drafted, that's the average. Played, all drafted, all that played, all that drafted, and so on. So, and then likewise about the success rate, I guess you could say, of a draft pick playing in the NHL at some point. So first round picks, 88.52% have played at least one game. 53.4 second rounds, 39.22 third rounds, 30.72 fourth rounds, 23.53 fifths, 19.61 sixths, and 15.03 sevenths. So I thought maybe that they would be a bit closer for these last three. And actually, we might as well do a calculation here. How do I do that? So equals this minus this divided by this. And they do all line up good. Okay. So change these. So the success rate increases by 30%. well, it's almost 1/3 of this amount is the increase. 20%, 30%, 27, 36, 65. So, yeah, these first round picks are actually quite important, I guess you could say, just exclusively from if they'll play from that perspective. Now, the thing, what I was starting to think about is, so I don't want to know, I don't need to just, or what's the way to phrase this? So, knowing just that they played is not all that beneficial. I mean, it's, yeah, great, they played. Yeah, well, if they played one game, I mean, and then that's it. That's not really that valuable. Um, how do we translate this? See, this is the problem about doing this on the spot, is to turn this into more meaningful than just this. I mean, this tells us a lot as it is, but I want to better describe the data. So you have an 88% success rate. If you multiply that by the production, gets you the estimated value. Is that right? So you have the average performance, multiply it by the likelihood, and then that estimates the value, I think, unless I'm making a stupid mistake here. I think that's right. And I think that's got to be the best way to quantify the value. So that's the average of the players that make it. You multiply that by the likelihood of them making it. Now I'm starting to second guess one of the ways that I did gather the data. Because what I'm trying to think is, so that's the average through 10 seasons, but the thing is not all of these are 10 seasons ago. So should I be doing a weighted average? And if so, that's a lot more work. And I've done enough work already. Let's think. Or if I took all of it and divided it by 5, half of them would be more than 5 and half of them would be less than 5, so that would average it out. Is that right? I feel like that's more right. Yeah, I think so. Because if I weighted it and doesn't that produce the same result? I think. I feel like that's the case. I don't know for sure though. Oops. Did I copy that. I mean, I should have already said, but I think you can already see what I'm doing is I'm just bringing all data over, and then that way I can reference everything all at once. Okay, so what I did instead then is I divided everything by 5, and I think that changes everything to actually make it a proper weighting, because if I did if I did 10 seasons, or the players that played 10 seasons divided it by 10, the ones divide them by 1, and did that for all seasons, it would, I don't think I'm getting technically the exact the exact numbers, but I think in this case, like sometimes with some stuff I do, good enough's good enough. So, and I'll just move this over so that everything that's important is showing. It doesn't let me do that. Okay, then what we'll do instead is delete these, move these over, delete. Oh, whoops. Move these, move these. So sorry, bear with me. I'm just going to tidy this up better so we can look at it. Okay, so yeah, I think this is as good as I'm going to do. I mean, I could get more specific, but again, since I'm not getting paid for this, so yeah, good enough's good enough for me. So I've already kind of explained, but I'll recap again because the data's changed. So what we've done here is we've taken all players that played one or more games, all players that were drafted are those two cells there. We take the total games played, goals, assists, points, penalty minutes, although that's not that important. Then we divide it by the number of players that played one game, or all players that all players that were drafted. Take the total, divide it by that, and then divide it by 5. In this case, I had done 10 because there were 10 seasons worth of data. But I think if we do 5, it's essentially, not quite, but more or less getting... So 5 is in the middle of 10 and 1. Some players only have 1 season of potential games played. Other ones have up to 10. If you go right halfway, it approximates weighting it. So instead of going and taking all the people that played 10 seasons, dividing it by 10 to get the per 1 season, and then doing all of them, so 9 seasons divided by 9, 8 divided by 8, and so on, to get their per season, and then you total it, it's probably pretty darn close to the same. So really, is it worth it? I'd say no. So that's why I just divide it by 5. Should be close enough. So then in theory, of players that played one game, a minimum of one game, they averaged 32 games per season, approximately, I think is what that would mean. 5 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. And then if you divide it by all players that were drafted, 12.42, 3.3, 5.4. So I think that approximates the actual amounts. And then so to kind of make this a bit more concrete, then a first round pick would be expected to play 49 games, have 9.9 to 10 goals, 16 assists, 26 points. And then, for example, second round pick, 29.6 games, 3.7 goals, 6.1 assists, 9.9 points. and then basically, so I guess what you could argue is that this gives you a range of anticipated value. So if you divide it by the ones that played one game versus the ones that were drafted, since it's divided by more for all the players that are drafted, then that means that it decreases it. So I guess that's maybe a range, and then you can look at the maximum performance of the players drafted in the first round. So from a goals perspective, it's Draisaitl. Assists perspective, McDavid. And then if you divide these by the number of seasons they played, that would give you per season. Yeah, so I think that's about right. I mean, again, it's not a perfect science here. We don't really need these. I'm just going to clean this up because I feel like it. And I just want to think more about this just before I end it as what I just said. So we have players could have played 1 season up to 10 seasons. The average would be 5. Or would it be 5.5? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. Anyways, I mean, like I said, I think that's close enough. I feel like it's wrong though. This is the problem here. Because the thing is, so what I would have to do if I wanted to get the 1-year average of making the NHL for each draft pick, I would have to figure out the number that played after 1 year for all of them. That's a lot of work. And I'm not prepared to do that. Not right now. Now the one thing I want to is that, so those values, are they per season? Or total value of the player? Total games played. Total games played divided by total numbers that played in any number of games. Would give you the total games per player so that would be career value. And then divide by 5 would be per season value. I think that's right, isn't it? So approximate per season value. Yeah, I think that's right, actually. And then maybe if I got... So we got per season value. Yeah, I think I should also get per career value. So if I divide it by 5, that's the average per season. And then divide it by, not divided by 5, and then that would be the 5-year career value. I think that's approximately right. Yeah, so let's do that too then. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, so more work, but that's fine. I think it's worthwhile. Oops. And see, this is a great example of why doing this on the spot. For one, you're not necessarily getting the best answers, and you're not getting all the answers you want necessarily. But you can only do what you can do. And I'm not going to do all this stuff ahead of time because it's not worth the... yeah, it's just better for me this way. So if we take all this, it's this actually. No. Yeah, and that looks right too. Okay, so I think that's better than what we had before. Where did the thing go? Hmm. Uh, I thought I did this also for hair. Wait. Not done yet. And then what did we do for these again? So it was just that divided by that. Equals that divided by is it that one? Okay, so I think that's better. Yeah, I think that's better data, more useful. So, because now we can figure out the value of players on a per season basis as well as um, their career value. And the reason you would want to know that is because so you can trade a draft pick for a rental, for example, and if you compare the per season value, then it's obvious that so for example a rental and you're trading the per season value of a first round pick, a second round pick, a third round pick, it's probably going to be less than that rental, assuming that they're, of good value if you're comparing the per season value, because a player that exists and performs is of more value than players that don't exist and likely perform less. And so on that basis, it's not quite a fair comparison because your draft pick actually has multiple years of value, not just the value from that point in time for the trade. So we would want to know both. The per season, I mean, it's not of critical importance, but that would be kind of better for planning your roster in general. And then the career value is better to determine the value in a trade, I think, is the best way to put it. So So as an example, a first round pick over the span of what I would say is a 5-year period, because this is a 10-year period, or well, could be 1 year up to 10 years for each of these players. The average would be 5. So the 5-year, which I'm calling career here, the 5-year expected value of a first round pick would be 247 games, 50 goals over those 5 seasons, 81 assists, 131 points. And if you do that on a per season basis, it's 49 games, 10 goals, 16 points, 16 assists, 26 points. So then you could argue that if you're getting, so if the person you're trading for on a per season basis, you if you're going to get 10 goals, 16 assists, and 26 points, you could trade a first round pick for that player, essentially, is kind of the point of this. It's not quite correct because, like I said, you kind of want to consider the career value. So if you're trading, for example, a player with 5 years left on their contract for a first round pick, the value in the trade that would match up would be 247 games, 50 goals, 81 assists, 131 points in a 5-year period. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So as far as I can tell, I would argue that the first round picks are not as valuable as maybe they're as valuable as I thought they would be. Because on a per season basis, 10 goals, 16 assists, 26 points in 49 games, over half a point per game. That's pretty valuable. And I mean, it approximates how much a player would play during a full season. So in terms of number of games, 49 games is pretty close to accurate. This would be average performance. You know what, to contrast this, let's pull up my player expectations work that I did before, and we'll contrast them. So just give me 1 sec here to pull that up, because I think that'll actually demonstrate the value of, for example, a first round pick. So just a sec here. Performance expectations. I think that's it. We want forwards, I guess. Now the other thing is we're doing this exclusively, we're doing this for all players, not exclusively forwards or defense, which we could technically do that as well. But we're not doing that at this point. Okay, so here this will demonstrate it better. So in other work, if you've been following the work that I've done, I made tiers of players based on performance to figure out what level of performance you should expect out of each roster player for forwards and defense. And so in this case here, the best forward on your team, if you want to be a playoff team, should produce approximately 34 goals, 50 assists, and 80 points. So, if we're considering a first round pick playing 49 games, 10 goals, 16 assists, 26 points, the closest to that would be your 8th or 9th roster spot here. So let's make this bigger. So your 8th roster spot, so that would be the second best player on your third line, and then your third best player on your third line. Somewhere in between there is the value of a first round pick, apparently, based on this. And for trading purposes, it seems about right, because high-end players are fetching multiple picks. Now, we're just looking at it on a per-season basis here. So if you consider, the career value of a first-round pick, then that's where it's these players times 5 seasons. So, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. So, I guess what you could do is you could consider the term left on the player that you're acquiring, and compare it to the career value that you're getting out of the player, or out of the draft pick, sorry. Yeah, and then it's hard to really compare. Because then, for example, so you have a first line player. I think this will demonstrate it well. You've got a first line player here, your best player on your team. Let's say you have, because how many games are left in the season right now? What are we at? I don't know offhand. Give me a sec here. There we go. So it's about, we'll say, 22 games left. So 22 games, 22 divided by 82 equals 26.8% times 34 goals equals 9 goals. Okay, so this, I think this actually makes sense. So if you're trading a first round pick for a rental, basically, you would anticipate that your top, so let's say your rental would be your top player. So you're picking up like a Mitch Marner, or maybe something along those lines. So you're picking up a Mitch Marner. You would anticipate something like 9 goals for the rest of the season. 13 assists. And whatever that would be anyways, 22 points for the rest of the year. And so to have a high-end rental equals the per season value, but you're missing out on the career value of the first round pick. So I would argue that so if you're trying to trade a first round pick for a rental, even if they're the going to be your best player on your team, you're not getting the correct value out of you shouldn't be giving up a first, second, and third, well, whatever. So what's an example of a recent trade? Tanner Janot yesterday. So he was for Cal Foot, a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and I think a fifth as well. Mind you, he has RFA status after he expires. So give me a sec. I want to see if there's a good example of a recent trade where it's an expiring contract that I can better compare here. So just bear with me a moment. Trades, who do we have? Preferably one for one. I think this would approximate it actually because he hasn't played yet. So I think this will work to demonstrate what I'm saying. So Ivan Barbashev is a rental. He has an expiring contract, UFA status, so his value is only the rest of this year plus the playoffs technically. So he's going to produce not that much in the rest of the season, you would estimate. So you could, based on his current production, you could estimate that it's about 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points that you're going to get out of Barbashev for the rest of the year. Mind you, that doesn't include playoffs, so just keep that in the back of your mind. So he has only that value, only the value of the rest of this season plus the playoffs. You trade for Zach Dean, who's a first-round pick, hasn't played his NHL games yet. So in theory, he's going to have approximately this career value. So you're trading this value of production to your franchise for, like I said, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. So really, in effect, from a production standpoint, you substantially lose in that trade. Now, depends on how you value the Stanley Cup and your chance at winning it from adding that player, the playoff production as well. And if you can forecast that his actual career production would be this, or if it's only maybe one season, but one season's still better value than the Barbashev rental. So, I mean, I think so. First round picks compared to what I was thinking previously, I mean, it's approximately what I would have expected the value to be. So trading these first round picks so flippantly seems like a horrendous decision as far as I can tell from this. Now, mind you, this is not perfectly scientific what I've just done, but it's close enough. And I mean, really, it's making it very clear that these first round picks should not be traded away so easily. I mean, unless if they're expecting to re-sign Barbashev or extend, however you want to put it, after acquiring him here, then yeah, fine. And yes, you have certain production or likely production from Barbashev because he's established versus Zach Dean is not established and hasn't played in the NHL. So, you know, certainty versus uncertainty. But again, when we're doing all these calculations here, it's averages. And so averages are, you know, reliable. I mean, it's an average for a reason. So, yeah, so I think that's really interesting. Now, the thing that I could do is also separate out forwards and defense. But actually, as soon as I was saying that, I shouldn't do that because you don't know what you're going to use your pick on, right? You don't know if it's going to be a forward, defense, goalie. And this doesn't even factor in goalie value, which is, I mean, to quantify that is extremely difficult. So, I mean, this is probably accurate anyways because it could be forward, could be defense. It's right smack in the middle of everything. It's could be any player, any position. This is the expected production you're going to get out of that round pick. So anyway, so I think that's really interesting. It's the results are not what I was expecting. I mean, slightly yes, but not quite. And I mean, really, like, man, it's just interesting to think about the value of these picks and stuff. So I just want to also talk about this so we can see the extreme versions. Um, so for example, a seventh round pick, in theory, the career value would be 79 games, 10 goals, 17 assists, 28 points. The per season average for 5 seasons would be approximately 16 games played, 2 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. So a seventh round pick is essentially the same value as 16 games, 2 goals. So it's something like a depth forward, approximately. So then in that case, why are you trading away all these draft picks? It just doesn't make sense. You'd want to acquire draft picks to the degree that you can use them, is what I would argue from all this. Because there's way better value in the draft picks than there is in active players that are, I mean, depending on what you're trading for. So, for example, I mean, if you traded a seventh round pick for a depth forward, then it kind of lines up. But if you're trading, well, it depends, I guess. So it depends on if it's a rental or not. So if it's a rental, then a seventh round pick is kind of the same value as, what would it be? Your 11th forward. So if it was a rental from this point on in the rest of the season, because you'd multiply the per season production, or wait, sorry, yeah, or you would take the player's production divided by 3 to get the 20 game amount, and then that would equal the seventh round like full season production. So if that makes sense, basically just remember back to how I compared Barbashev to Dean. So anyways, so I think draft picks have way more value than GMs use them as. And it's no wonder why you have these cycles of these franchises where they'll compete and then they tank, and then they compete and then they tank. And it's just like, it's well, obviously not sustainable, because you're constantly going through this peak, massive dip, peak, crash, so on and so on. Whereas if you just used your draft picks, and preferably acquired draft picks, then you should be way ahead of the rest of the competition, because especially the people that are trading away their draft picks. Anyways, so I think that answers the question that we were trying to answer. Just give me a second to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So I wanted to figure out success rate of players drafted into the NHL, which we went over, average and maximum performance for each round's draft picks. So we do have that. Career, we don't have the per season, but that's fine. I mean, we know what a McDavid does per season and so on. And basically when you go straight through, one sec here. They're all more or less like first round picks in the end. So Sebastian Aho produces per season about the same as, not quite, but about the same as like Draisaitl. Point is about the same as Aho. Arvidsson about the same as Point, and so on and so on. So, I mean, really, we've kind of answered that as well. So I think that's it. So the likelihood of a player playing any games is, an interesting thing, but it's more the career production that I think is more valuable than if they play. Because previous articles and stuff that I've read, it's like the success rate of if they play. Well, okay, great, but that's just like seeing if they play one game, which is something that we calculated, but it's like that doesn't tell you that much. You want to know what they produce in the likelihood that they play, kind of. So, which we didn't do that, but we just saw what the average production was for players of each round. And I mean, that's, I think, more accurate anyways. So anyways, I think that's a very interesting results. And like I said, I think the biggest conclusion is that GMs don't properly value their draft picks. Their draft picks are substantially more valuable than they're currently valuing them at. A great example is that Janot trade. You're trading away the value of what is it here? 108 plus 63 plus 40. Sorry, wrong numbers. 70 plus, my bad. 131 plus 49 plus 42 plus 41 plus 33. You're trading away that many potential points for Tanner Janot for however long you have him. For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I would never do that trade based on that data. It's just clear as day. So, yeah. So, and then even more so for these rentals like Barbashev Dean trade, the anticipated value that you'd get out of Dean versus Barbashev for a third of a season and a playoff. I mean, the only way that really you could argue that it's worth it is if you win the cup. And it seems like Barbashev added to Vegas is not going to make you win the cup, I would argue. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. And that's kind of the best I can do. I think it's quite complicated what we're actually trying to answer here. But this gives us a good enough answer, in my opinion. And the answer is that draft picks are way more valuable than GMs treat them at this moment. So if you like this stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe, turn on notifications. Otherwise, channel homepage has upcoming streams. Should be 2 p.m. Eastern daily, except for Sundays. Any comments, leave them in the comments. Suggestions, the same. And as a reminder, Friday for the trade deadline, I'm doing a longer stream to cover the trades that come up. Also going to be doing like a recap of the season, a number of different things. If you take a look at that scheduled stream right now, it'll tell you the main topics. I'm probably going to add to it as well. I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. And thankfully, versus this kind of stuff, you don't have to see me do a whole bunch of calculations. I'm going to be able to talk the entire time, as opposed to these where I'm constantly doing calculations and can't do spreadsheets and chat the whole time. It's not quite realistic. So anyways, so tune into that. I'll be doing things live as the trades come up, so it would be the same as if you watched TSN, ESPN, whoever does the coverage. So hope you tune into that. And if you tune into this, thank you. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, continuing this series. And subject not announced, but I think I have it planned. So more talk about value of draft picks. So anyways, talk to you guys tomorrow.